Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to a game of throws in World of Warships with Rear Admiral... Wait, what? World of Tanks? What's going on here? What dock sorcery is this, Jingles? Well, yeah, people have been throwing games in World of Tanks long before World of Warships came along. So, this is Sergeant Pippa in the Emil-2, Swedish Tier 9 heavy tank. I had to think about that for a moment. For some reason I wanted to call this a Tier 8 medium. Yes, Swedish, land of the hurdy-gurdy-gurdies, not to be confused with Norway, the land of the fjordy-fjordy-fjordies. And yes, I've been waiting a very long time to use that joke, and it wasn't worth the wait. But I'm not sorry, I just find that the older I get, the more easily amused I become. So, anyway, Emil-2, Tier 9 heavy tank. You can see the confusion. I mean, look at this thing. That's a heavy tank now, is it? I've seen bigger medium tanks. But heavy tank it is. And I have to admit, I don't really like this thing. It's described in the World of Tanks wiki as having decent mobility for a heavy tank. What heavy tanks have you lot been playing? Look at this thing. It is painfully sluggish. I mean, I suppose it has an alright top speed, but this thing doesn't have a turning circle. It has an orbit. On the bright side, it does have virtually impenetrable frontal turret armour and decent gun depression, which makes it really strong, like the Kranwagen at Tier 10 in a hold down position like this. The only problem with this particular hold down position is, well, look at how narrow his field of fire is. I mean, he's going to annihilate anything that tries to push down that open road, anything that's dumb enough to try to push down that open road, completely ignoring all of the cover and concealment on both sides of that open road. And while there are often no shortage of dumb players in an online multiplayer game, at the moment that particular field of fire is an idiot-free zone. So, moves over here, which does give him a bit of a wider view and angle, but there's still nothing there for him to shoot at. Not a problem that the enemy team are currently suffering from. They've already managed to score first blood, knocking out the team's batch at 12T, and they've already racked up something of a health advantage too. So with nothing to shoot at here, Sergeant Pippa moves up to an altogether better position. If he'd been in any other tank than this, you know how I said I looked at this thing and thought it was a Tier 8 medium rather than a heavy? Now this would be an excellent position for a strong hold-down tank, something like the T-30 or the T-32 or this thing's big brother, the Kranwagen. And I use the word big on purpose, because the Kranwagen would be able to see over this pile of rubble, and the Emil-2 just isn't big enough. Not without moving forward far enough to expose his hull and invalidate the whole point of trying to go hold down in the first place. Yeah. Oh, the team have suffered their second casualty, and the enemy team have lost one as well. They still have a significant health advantage, however. Look at that, they're 6,000 hit points ahead, which can only mean that Sergeant Pippa's team have a lot of low health tanks and are very lucky to have only suffered 2 casualties. He's going to have to start actually doing some damage. And, oh, he does actually have a shot at the IS-3 Mark II. Oh, and he gets him. Oh, look at that. Just cleared the gun man. Oh, yeah, turn your toe to the side. That's going to work. Oh, well, okay. I didn't expect that first shot to go through. But it did. In fact, all 3 did. Unfortunately, good though that was, it does expose another problem with the Emil-2. It only has a 3-shot autoloader, so he can do around 1300 damage, but that's all he can do. And if the enemy tank has more than that, or even if it has less than that, one of those shots bounces, you're in trouble, unless you're in a safe spot. Plus the penetration on this gun isn't amazing, even with the gold ammo. High explosive anti-tank, it only, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this, only has 300mm of penetration, which is kind of bad by World of Tanks standards, at least these days. Well, he's reloaded now, the team have suffered another casualty, although they've managed to equalise it, and the Kunzerpanzer over there has taken a massive battering. Does he have a shot against this UDES? He does, although he missed the first one. Is the UDES going to give him a second shot? No, he's in cover. Oh no, he's okay. Well, thank you. 2 shots and 1 hit is all he's going to get, so he's going to back up and go for the reload. Unfortunately, he doesn't back up far enough, because remember, he's not hull down in this position. Yeah, there it is, the Centurion. uses the repair kit because he doesn't want to get hit again. That Centurion would really hurt him. And while it looked like the UDES did something a bit stupid there, I mean, it dodged or avoided the first shot and then backed up into cover and then moved out from cover and took a second shot. But you have to remember, we're only seeing this from Sergeant Pippa's perspective. It looked kind of stupid from this perspective, but from the perspective of the UDES, we don't know what else he was having to maneuver in order to protect himself from. So maybe not quite as dumb a move as it may have first appeared. Meanwhile, the team have knocked out an enemy Su-130 PM, and they've actually managed to go ahead on kills, and they're no longer, I mean, they're still behind on hit points, but they're no longer that far behind. The Lerva's going for it. You've reloaded, there's nothing to shoot at over here, you may as well go and see if you can back him up. Although, remember, when you're on that corner of that gateway, you're not hull down anymore, and the Lerva just took a spanking. And that right there is the problem on this corner with this tank, and he missed the shot against the UDES. Well, he didn't miss it, he was too slow to take the shot against the UDES. And if the UDES chooses to come around and outflank, well, okay, you're no longer in a position to defend the Lerva because the Lerva's dead. And the AMX M4, in company with the UDES there, looks like he's prepared to come out and take the Pepsi challenge against your 3-shot autoloader. Fortunately, a shot from the Striv K off to the right convinces him otherwise. There's that Centurion. Remember, you're not hull down here. But the Centurion hits your turret front, and the UDES might have been thinking about going for it, but a shot from artillery convinced him otherwise. Unfortunately, the Striv K has just gone down. And the Striv K down to the south there was pretty much the only thing convincing that UDES to not take his chances against you. Although there is a T-28 Pro. Oh crap, look at this. This is not good. You've got a T-56 and a Vipera. I mean, the Vipera's got a lot of health, but that's a lot of enemy tanks closing in. You are going to have to deal with this AMX M4 though. It may be worth taking a hit in order to kill him. Or don't. Just kill him anyway. Nice. You are still 2 kills behind though, so you're going to have to move your arse. I think Sergeant Pippa was deliberating here whether or not it was worth going around the outside of the building in order to get that Object 777. But he's going to have to make a decision soon. And he doesn't trust that that road is clear. And, well, it probably isn't. So he's going to go for it. He's just really, really slow. I mean, decently mobile heavy tank, my arse. He's making sure he doesn't block the retreat of the Vipera. He might actually be able to get into a hold down position here. The only problem is he's facing a BZ-176, and the only thing more bullshit than that thing's frontal armour is the 160mm high explosive premium ammunition that it fires. 867 damage, making a complete mockery of the only good thing about this tank. It's turret armour. And now he's reloading again. The team are still 2 kills behind. Although the enemy team don't know he's reloading. Nice move there from the Vipera, sneaked around to the rear. Here comes... Oh, this is going to hurt. It did, but he didn't survive the return fire. He's down to 67 health. And he takes out the BZ as well. 1 shot remaining. Did you see the artillery shell coming in over there, by the way? You know where the artillery is, right? He's up in that top northeast corner. Right, anyway, they've won this flank. That's the good news. There is, however, a rather lot of bad news. First, they're still 1 kill behind. Secondly, they only have 1,300 hit points between the 4 of them. They did just lose the Vipera as well. The enemy team have a 4,000 hit point advantage. Sergeant Pippa is a 1-shot kill. The T-56 is a 1-shot kill. The E-50M is technically also a 1-shot kill because there's a Jaegeru on the enemy team. And we don't know where he is. If the E-50M can just stay alive long enough for backup to arrive. But the problem is that, well, with 67 hit points and no hull armour, you're not really in a position to provide direct backup. Instead, you can only hope... There's that Centurion. Oh, those were wasted shots. You can only hope to kill targets that the E-50 spots for you. And the E-50 has just done 370 damage to the Centurion. There's some spotting damage for Sergeant Pippa there. And with the T-56 back there on similarly low health, that puts the E-50M into the unenviable position of basically being the team scout for Sergeant Pipper, the T-56, and the artillery. And he's found an enemy. The bad news is it's the Jaegeru, and he still has more than 1,000 health remaining. Now that's a brave E-50M, but nobody's that brave, and Pipper, the UDES, Pipper, the UDES. Oh, he sees the threat, but this thing is just too sluggish to reverse back in time, and Pippa's story comes to an end here. But the E-50M, the artillery, and the T-56 are still in the fight, and the UDES just took a big hit again from the E-50M. Although he's smart enough to not try and chase him around the corner in front of that Jaegeru's gun, and he's also conscious of the fact that the Centurion might be sneaking around behind him. It looks like the T-56 is maybe trying to put himself into a position to intercept and catch that UDES. E-50 angling against where he expects the Centurion to be coming from, and he was right to do so, although it was the Ferdinand and not the Centurion. Here comes the Jaegeru. He needs to get the hell out of here. Artillery did hit it, but it looks like it only did stun damage. There's the Centurion, takes a hit, survives it. That was a big hit as well. Knocks out the Centurion, and should, with the speed of this thing, very easily be able to disengage from both the Ferdinand and the Jaegeru. While all that was going on, the T-56, oh shit, there's the Jaegeru, but he's too slow to get the shot off. The T-56 did find and kill the UDES. So it's 2 against 3. He's managed to score a good hit against the Jaegeru. Let's go back. Yeah, the second one bounced. He's not sticking around waiting for the Jaegeru to point that monstrous gun in this direction. Good decision there. Obviously, they're going to have to work together to take out that Jaegeru. And as long as the Ferdinand was skulking down in the southeastern end of the map, they have a good chance of doing that. But somebody is now in the cap circle, and it's probably the Ferdinand, which means he could be coming to the assistance of the Jaegeru, so you need to take him out fast. The E-50M has managed to get around behind him, one shot of his arse. The T-56 takes a bit of a risk there, popping out in front of his gun, but he gets the first shot off. The Jaegeru is down. It is now 2 versus 2, although it's 276 hit points versus 1,322 hit points, and while the Ferdinand may only be tier 8, it does get a pretty good gun. The question is, who is it in the cap circle? Is it the Ferdinand? Is it the GW Tiger? It's up to the E-50M to find out, and it is the Ferdinand. Unfortunately, the 30 spots him. There was the shot from the... Oh, he's bounced the first shot from the 30. Unfortunately, while he does get a shot off, it doesn't do any damage, and I feel like reverse side scraping around the corner here would have been a better choice than trying to angle your lower plate, because the Ferdinand does not bounce with its second shot. I'm not going to be critical at all of the E-50M here, though, because he really did play a fantastic game. And with his next 2 shots, the T-56 takes out the Ferdinand and defends the cap circle. That just leaves the enemy artillery. Now, we've seen multiple hits, or multiple traces, from that artillery. We're about to see another one. I don't think that was a direct hit. I think it only missed the T-56 by inches, but it still reduced him to 36 hit points. However, one thing that we've seen consistently about every shot fired by that artillery throughout the course of this game is they have all come from the same direction. He's up there in the northeast corner of the map. He's been there the entire game. There are now 2 minutes of this battle remaining. And unlike the Emul-2, don't believe everything you read in the World of Tanks wiki, the T-56 is actually a fairly mobile heavy tank. And 2 minutes is more than enough time, as you can see him doing here, for not taking the direct route and running face first into artillery when you only have 36 health left, but instead flanking around to ensure that you have the best chance of killing him and winning this game. Although if you could avoid driving through the cap circle to let him know you're coming from this direction, that would have... You are coming from this direction, right? You're not actually trying to win by capping. Oh my god, he's trying to win by capping. Well, if there were any doubt as to exactly where that arty was, that shot just confirmed it. He's still over there, in exactly the same spot he's been this entire game. Now, in a game of World of Warships, which this isn't, but when the result is as close as this, it's really difficult to tell what it is that you need to do. Let's say you're 300 points behind, but the enemy team have all 3 of the cap circles, and there's 2 minutes left. Do you risk trying to flip one of the caps? Do you risk trying to get another kill and maybe dying yourself in the process and handing the enemy team even more points? Or is 2 minutes long enough for you to just sit and hold on to your points lead? With 3 cap circles under their control, is 2 minutes long enough for the enemy to convert a 300 point loss into a points win? You just don't know. The game doesn't tell you. You kind of either have to install a mod timer or develop a feel for it yourself. The game does tell you in World of Tanks. In World of Tanks, you have no such excuse. 8 seconds of the battle remaining, 9 seconds left until you win by capping. You can even hear it. And that's a draw. So what I can only describe as a sudden rush of shit to the brain there from the T-56, who up until that point had been playing a good game. But it just goes to show that under pressure, even the best of us can make bad decisions. And the T-56 was, believe it or not, the best of us. I mean, we didn't see much of his game, only towards the end. And I've been singing the praises of the E-50M, and deservedly so, but the T-56 actually did better. 5 kills, 4,000 damage, nearly 1,000 base experience on a defeat. He was by far the best player in that battle. And despite all of that, he still threw it by not going for the artillery. I mean, he may have still lost if he'd gone after the artillery, but he was definitely going to lose if he stayed in the cap circle. And of course, because it was a draw, everybody lost. There is no winner in World of Tanks when the match ends in a draw. So you could argue that both teams threw it. But I do kind of feel bad for that Skoda T-56 because he'd basically done nothing wrong right up until the point where he did. Ah well, everybody's entitled to a bad day every now and then. But hopefully you lot are all been having a good one and you've enjoyed today's video, because that's it. Thank you to Sergeant Pippa for sending this one in. My commiserations to the T-56 and the E-50M and the Vipera. It was basically all of the guys on the left flank who ended up, well, having the potential to carry that game. Unfortunately, didn't. So, yeah. I think we've said enough. You all saw what happened. And on that bombshell, that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you're all having a great day. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.